Hello everyone, I am Bob and this is the Home Bitcoin Immersion Mining channel. In this design series episode, I'm going to cover how to heat your water with Bitcoin. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so in this episode, I'm going to cover 3 different design ideas for using Bitcoin immersion mining to heat your water. But before I get into those designs, there's a quick safety issue I want to cover. And this is bacteria growth in the hot water system, specifically Legionella bacteria. This bacteria can cause a range of sicknesses, including Legionnaire's disease. They can survive in stagnant water between 68 and 122 degrees Fahrenheit, and they thrive between 77 and 108 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, heat can be used to kill these bacteria with temperatures above 122 degrees Fahrenheit required to kill most all bugs. And this is why most conventional home hot water heating systems are set between 120 degrees and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. This gets the water hot enough for general use and to kill bacteria, but not so hot as to create a burn danger. Now, with immersion mining systems, the maximum temperature of the cooling fluid exiting the immersion tank is going to be around 140 to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Any hotter than that, and miners operated with stock configurations will often overheat and stop mining. This is great since this limits the burn potential from hot water heated by Bitcoin mining. However, most immersion mining systems are going to generate fluid temperatures much lower than 140 degrees since keeping miners cooling increases their long-term reliability and mining efficiency. Depending on how the system is designed and how it is operated, this can put water temperatures right in the sweet spot for bacteria growth. And so Bitcoin water heating systems must be designed with this risk in mind. And this is why you should treat everything here as just an idea or starting point for a hot water system design, and you really should consult a hydronic or hot water systems expert before making any changes to your home hot water system. With safety issues covered, the first design idea is to use a heat exchanger in line with your existing hot water heating system. The way this works is the hot fluid coming from the miner setup circulates through one side of the heat exchanger and the incoming cold water passes through the other side. Heat passes from the miner fluid to the incoming cold water, heating it up, and then the water then flows into the existing hot water heater where it is stored until it is needed. Now, what's really nice about this setup is it's fairly cheap and easy to install, and it does not require you to change your existing hot water heater. If your mining system is large enough, this can provide a continuous stream of hot water for your home. But even if your mining setup is on the smaller side, you'll still be able to preheat your water, meaning the existing hot water heater is using less energy to bring your water up to the final temperature. Now, as I've talked about in previous episodes, doing heat exchanger sizing calculations can be a little tricky. It's always a good idea to contact the heat exchanger supplier and have them run the numbers for you. But in general, a brazed plate heat exchanger around 4 to 12 inches in size and having around 20 plates should be big enough for most homes. The second design to consider is to use what is called an indirect water heater. This is a water heater that is heated by a hot water source, in this case, Bitcoin miners. And there's 2 ways this can be used: as a replacement for your hot water heater or as a preheater for your hot water heater. In either case, just like with the heat exchanger, the hot fluid from the mining setup passes through the tank, giving up its heat. The difference here is there is a large tank of fluid being heated up, which can store the thermal energy output from the miners. This is a great design option if you have a smaller 1 to 2 miner setup, since heat can be built up in the tank when you're not using water, maximizing your energy reuse. Now, if your miner setup runs hot enough, this can replace your existing hot water system and you can be heating your home hot water only with Bitcoin. However, if your miner setup does not run hot enough, you'll be creating a large tank of warm, stagnant water, which is not a great thing for staying away from bacteria problems. In this case, it might be a good idea to use the tank as a preheater and have a normal hot water system afterwards, which can ensure water temperatures are high enough to keep you safe. The last design concept is to use a combination electric solar water heater. These aren't very common, but I think they might be a great solution for heating your home water with Bitcoin. And that's because these water heaters are a combination of an indirect water heater and a normal water heater. Just like an indirect water heater, hot fluid from the miners flows through the tank, heating up the water, but the difference here is the tank has a heating element built into the tank. If your miners are not supplying enough heat, the tank heater can make up the difference and ensure you have a full tank of hot water. Now, the downside of this approach is you have to replace your existing hot water heater with a whole new system. Also, these are more expensive than a normal water heater. Now, for all three design ideas, you can integrate these with either a dual loop or single loop immersion mining system. I covered the differences, advantages, and disadvantages of dual loop versus single loop immersion systems in a previous episode if you want to learn more. And when using these systems for heating home hot water, there are upsides and downsides here as well. In a single loop system, the fluid comes directly from the miner tank, so this is going to provide the hottest fluid temperature and the best heat transfer to your water. But in single loop systems, the fluid used to transfer heat to the water is the dielectric miner cooling fluid. This fluid is expensive, has compatibility issues with other materials, and can be challenging to seal in a piping system. If the mining tank is far from the hot water heater, this could increase the cost of the system and create more opportunities for leaks. But if you do want to build this type of system, I've covered some solutions for piping and sealing the fluid in my last build episode, so you can make this work. In comparison, in a dual loop system, the fluid used to transfer heat to the hot water is going to be a glycol water mixture. Now, because the heat is transferred from the dielectric fluid to the glycol water loop, and then from the glycol water loop to the home hot water system, there's going to be a larger temperature drop, and it might be more difficult to heat water up to useful temperatures. But glycol water mixtures are cheap, and most all fluid handling components are made to handle it, so building a leak-free system is much easier. And this brings up one more safety issue, and that is cross-contamination. There's always a chance that the heat exchanger, indirect water heater, or other components leak and allow fluid to move from the heating fluid into your hot water. If you're using a single loop system, most dielectric fluids are not toxic, so although this isn't a good thing, it shouldn't make you sick. In contrast, if you're using a dual loop system, it's really important to choose the right type of glycol in your system. Propylene glycol is non-toxic and won't make you sick. Ethylene glycol is toxic and can really cause you or your family harm if it leaks into your drinking water. So it's a really good idea not to use ethylene glycol if you're going to use your immersion system to heat your home water. Now, the last topic to cover is whether to keep your miners on all the time or to only use your miners when heat is needed. I covered many of the differences, advantages, and disadvantages between these two options in my episodes on general home heating with Bitcoin, and a lot of that material applies here as well. However, the big difference in home water heating is that hot water use is much more intermittent than home heating use. Hot water can be turned on and off quite a bit throughout the day. If you're using that first design of installing a heat exchanger before your existing home hot water heater, turning the miners on and off just won't work. There's just not enough time for the miners to turn on and to come up to temperature. For the other two designs, either keeping your miners on all the time or only turning them on when you need to heat up the tank will work. It's up to you to figure out which design makes sense for your setup. Okay, so that's all I've got for this episode. In the next episode, I'm going to cover how I'm heating my home and hot water with Bitcoin. Like, subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes coming your way. And with that, bye.